Hey guys, it's Amy at Zoe back, and I'm going to do my weekly reading update for October 17th, 2021. So this has not been the best week for me. My reading kind of sucked, and mostly because I was not feeling so good. So work was fine. It has nothing to do with that. But I've had trouble with my ear for the last 4 months, and I don't know if I've mentioned much because there's not much I could do about it. I couldn't hear much out of my right ear for the last 4 months, and I tried to go the medication route first to try to get it to go out, and I did wait a little bit before we did that, but it just wasn't clearing up. So this week they had to put a tube in my ear. Not happy. But anyway, and I've had trouble with it because, like, even as I'm speaking here, my hearing is going in and out through that ear, and I can feel it, and it hurts. Like, I have still some pain from that, so I have like an earache. So that's great. So my reading was really kind of spotty this week. I read when I could, and when I didn't want to read, I didn't read. Watched a lot of BookTube. I actually restarted my Animal Crossing. I changed islands and started up again after on Friday we got the update or the thing saying we're going to get the last big update. So I thought, hey, I'm just going to go and play this again. So I think I need to put that back into my schedule. So, and I really enjoyed it, especially yesterday, Saturday morning. I played all morning. It was awesome. We'll see what I play today. Anyway, so my reading is kind of taking a backseat. And I think part of it is because of my ear and just not wanting to focus on anything. But also I feel I haven't been picking up the best books for me either. So I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do to change that, or if I can. And I don't know if the next books that I read will, make that all go away or not. I don't know. So let's talk about the books that I did finish, the ones I'm in the middle of, and what I think I'm going to read in the next week, because we never know. The first book I completed was Last Guard by Nalini Singh. This is a reread. I read it when it first came out in July. This is the 20th book in the Side Changeling series. One of my favorite series, one of my favorite authors of all time. I reread her books every time I'm kind of out of sorts, and I definitely needed this early in the week when I DNF'd a book and I didn't know what else to do with I was having issues with another book. I DNF'd one, and then this one, which I'll explain. But this one is the book I read and finished. So again, this is a world, it's again paranormal world where there's shifters and there's psychics, and then there are people with psychic abilities and humans who are all vying for power. And as I said, don't start this book. Slave to Sensation is the first book. I love these books. They're all very different, and world building is just great, and it just grows on each book. And I reread books from this series all year round. I just love this series. And so as I said, this was a comfort for me to go back and read this for the second time. And again, this will probably go on my rotation of rereads because I really enjoyed it. And, again, I always want another one, but I have to wait almost another year for another one. So anyway, I'm really, as I said, I had to read something, and I just chose that day at work because I was on my phone, because I only have it an e-copy. And when the physical comes in, then I'll read that. But I like to read my ebooks that I paid so much money for because I pre-ordered it. Those are the most expensive ebooks I ever buy, or Nalini Singh. But at least I want to read it 2 or 3 times before I get my physical. So I might reread it again before the physical book comes out in February. Anyway, but I try to get my money's worth. The other book that I finished was Haunted Houses, 2 novels by Charlotte Riddle. This is one of my Victober reads, and one I've been wanting to read the last couple of years. I think I bought this book a couple years ago. After I believe I saw it on Maria at MH Books. I know I bought another book of hers because of Maria, which I haven't read, and I'm looking at it and it's huge, so maybe next year. But anyway, so she was a very popular author in the, I think, the more later 1800s. This has 2 haunted house themed stories. Fairy Water, which came out in 1873, and The Uninhabited House that came out in 1875. So I like the second one much more. But the first one, I can't remember if I talked much about it here last week, but let's just quickly recap. The story was about a house that nobody wants to live in on pretty good property that is being rented out, but nobody wants to stay at the house. And a man who is a friend of the family kind of takes it on himself to try to get the house in better working order to sell or to rent out, so that the man that he has watched grown up, that he can give him money so that he can further his doctor's practice, so he can live in a better area and get better clients. And then there's also part of that story is that same older man who is watching over a young woman who is his cousin's widow, and the things that happened in that relationship, and a really horrible will. Anyway, but the mystery is more, the spooky stuff is more on the young man's property, where his father had gone mad after seeing something there. So again, it was not the best story. I think there's way too much extra stuff in there. I think it could have been streamlined quite a bit, but I really enjoyed it in the end. Like, I liked the way it went, but I still, yeah, it was, I liked the spooky part too, but it just wasn't enough. So that one wasn't enough, but I liked Fairy Water. Just, it could have been more. The other one, The Uninhabited House, I liked much better. It was much tighter in the way the story was told. It was a young clerk who gets kind of, he kind of volunteers himself to go and stay at a haunted house because, again, he works for a man who has been taking care of the people who own the property but don't want to live there because a man supposedly committed suicide there and his ghost is haunting the place. And tenants keep moving in and will move out in a couple months because they are terrorized to leave. And it's just, there are things about this that didn't quite get answered as much as I wanted, but I also liked the way it went all the way through the end. And its spook factor was much better. I mean, again, you're not going to be super scared or anything like that. I just mean that they were cool, spooky houses, and I liked some of the details that went through it. Like this one, I knew, the second one, I knew how it was going to go, and I still enjoyed the ride. Like I guessed one of the answers, but I still liked the way it went, if that makes any sense. So I enjoyed it a lot better. So I didn't give this the highest rating because I don't think it was, I don't know if I'm going to return to this. I don't know if I'm going to keep this book yet. I haven't decided. I really enjoyed them though for a read, and I do recommend them for that. I think they were easy to read. It didn't take me super long to read these because both of them are about 170 pages. So as I said, I really enjoyed them, and I'm glad I finally got that book. And I read those for Victober, and I'd never read that author before, so that was new to me. As I said, I have A Struggle for Fame on my shelf that's really chunky, and it's about a woman who, comes from poverty and tries to become famous, I think, or something. And I'm a little more worried about that one than how I'm going to deal with, if I'm going to like that one or not. So we'll see. So that's all I finished this week. It was not, as I said, not the greatest finishing books. Yeah, we'll get to that. The one book I did DNF was the read-along book for Fall Into Challenge, which is put on by Tia and All the Books, Rainey Day Reads, Angie at Literary Labors, and Cozy Reader Kelly. They had this book as the October read, and I really did want to read this because, again, I keep thinking I need to get into Octavia Butler, but I also feel she's just not an author for me. Every time I read one of her books, I don't get into it. I don't click, and I didn't get along with Kindred, and I got halfway through that, and I just didn't care after that. I don't know. So it's just me. There's something about the writing style that doesn't draw me in. It actually repels me in some ways. There's certain decisions she made in the first chapter of this book that just kind of made, whoa, okay, I don't know if I want to do this, and I don't. And I decided that I have too many books to be reading books I don't want to read. So unfortunately, this was a miss for me. It just didn't work out for me. And this follows, again, this is a vampire novel. You think I would like this, but no. It has to do with a woman who wakes up, doesn't know who she is, where she is, but she's a vampire. She figures that pretty quickly. But she looks like she's like 11 or 12, but she's like in her 50s or something. So I don't know, there's some dynamic in there I just didn't like, and I didn't get far enough to know much more of the story, but oh well. So that's a DNF. I just didn't get along with that one. I did start another vampire novel. Thought, let's try a fun one instead. The Rogue Hunter by Lindsay Sands. I can't remember if this is 10 or 11 in the series. And I have read this before. I read this about 7 years ago. I read this one and then the one afterwards. And then that's when I stopped the series, you know, back in the early 2010s. I think it was like 2011 or no, in 2013 or 14, I think is when I last read these. So, I just was trying to get back into the series. I own like up to like 25 or 6, I think maybe more than that. I don't know. The series is like in the 30s now. So I'm way, way behind, but these are fun vampire ones. They're very light, you know, paranormal romances where you follow one couple, but the family kind of expands. So you got characters pop up that you met in other books. And I really like this. Like the main character in this one, the main male character was in another book. Although I don't recall that so much because it's been a while since I reread these. But anyway, so I want to reread this one and the one afterwards so that I can continue the series. Because again, it's another series that I had on my shelf that I have a lot of books to that I have not completed. So anyway, so we're following Mortimer, who is there on assignment trying to find a rogue vampire who is biting people, obviously to not so much to feed. We're not sure. He's just taking a little bit sip here and there of people. And so there, he and his comrades are there to figure out to get him to stop, because that is against the rules in this world because it's modern day and they don't know that vampires exist. And then we're following Sam, who is a lawyer and whose cabin is right next to one of the other guys' cabin. And so they're kind of meeting. And I think she gets kind of involved because she's in the area and knows things about that area. But again, she doesn't know the vampires. Anyway, I'm enjoying that. I'm just going to pick that up here and there. I read part of it and then I put it down to finish the Charlotte Riddell book. So I might come back to that, or I might pick it up some other time. So, The Watchmaker of Filigree Street. I'm not sure what to do about this, by Natasha Pulley. This is a book on my 5-star prediction, and clearly it's not a 5-star because I'm struggling. I read up to 120 pages, I think, on Sunday last week, and then I have not touched it since. So this is a book, is a historical fiction from 1880, I think, 84, and it follows a man named Nathaniel who works in the Home Office as a telegrapher, and so he is kind of involved in, you know, politics, or not politics, but in government work. And, you know, he's not making the greatest living. He you know, lives in a boarding house and stuff, and he comes home one day after a very stressful event something happened, and then he finds a watch addressed to him on his like nightstand. And he doesn't know who gave it to him. He doesn't know anything about it, but it's a really fancy, beautiful watch. And then so many months later, I can't remember, was it 4 or 6 months later, some bombing happens in London, and it's kind of related to something to do with the watch and other stuff that's going on with his work. And he, again, goes searching for who made the watch. And it has this great twist of showing having Japanese naturals that are in London at that time for an exhibit, and also people who are living there, and the watchmaker there is from Japan, and it has this great twist on that. But there's a lot of stuff in here I'm just not clicking with. Like there's another subplot with a young woman from Oxford, and I don't care about her. Like she's just extraneous. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like the last scene I read with her was her mom forcing her to go to she's going to have to go to a certain party, which I know the main character is now going to go to. So it's just like, okay, do I need her? Right now I'm like 120 pages in and I'm like, why do I have her in the story at all? I don't know. So I don't know if anybody's read this and they can say, oh no, keep going, it's going to get better. But I don't know. I'm 120 pages in and I'm not sure I'm going to finish this. So anyway, that's where that is. And then Dr. Thorne by Anthony Trollope, which is the third book in the Barsetshire series. As I said, I tried to read this whole series this year, but I soft DNF'd this back in April, because April is a notoriously bad month for me of reading. And I read 70 pages and I'm like, I just can't read anymore, because I just read Barchester Towers the 2 months before, and then I read Warden in January. And the Warden, that was a reread, but Barchester Towers I'd wanted to read because I had started it a couple of years before that. And I thought, okay, I'm going to get the Barchester Towers series done this year because I joined a group on Instagram that read all of them. And they're just now finishing up the last book, but of course I dropped out back in April. So I thought, well, let's just try to finish this last book in Victober, and at least I have half the series done. Okay, so because I never took this off my Goodreads, so it's been sitting there, so that's another reason why I was trying to get clear off my Goodreads before the end of the year. What can I say? So this follows Dr. Thorne and his niece who live in Greshamsbury, and it deals with his relationship with the family, the Greshams, who are the landowners, kind of the squire in his family, and the niece was brought up with the children of that house to be educated and stuff because the families were really close. And then, but then when Frank, the heir, comes of age, everything changes because he is said he wants to marry, and of course the rich family is really against it because they're kind of in debt and they need money, so he needs to marry money. So marrying the poor doctor's niece is not an option, and it just kind of, it's talking about the relationships between the families. And I know that a lot of people love this book. I know a lot of people say this is their favorite of the Barchester series. And I have almost DNF'd this 4 times. So I'm actually 45 pages from the end. I'm an hour and 15 minutes on the audio. I did have to switch to audio for this read because I wasn't going to get through it if I didn't switch audio. Timothy West does the audio. I got it on Audible through the Audible Plus menu. It was free after you paid for Audible. So anyway, and he's a great, it's not, the audiobook's not the problem. And I love the narrator style of the book, of how it's written. I like the little comments that the narrator makes, that, you know, the omniscient narrator, we don't know who he is. But this book makes me cringe the whole way through of choices that different characters make. But I think it's because it's too domestic, it's too contemporary to that time, it's too much like normal everyday life that I don't want to read about that. And I think that's one of my major problems with contemporary fiction, is that I don't want to read about people's dramas or how they don't talk to people because they hide some secret, or they don't talk about something because, oh, they're embarrassed to talk about that. That's real life. Like, I get that. I don't want to read it. I know a lot of people love reading about that kind of stuff. That is so not what I want to read. And actually, I really want to go through my shelves and get rid of all my contemporary books that do not have plots that draw me in, that are not just that. Like, they have more things to them. I'm much more, I admit it, I want more other things, external things that are happening, not so much the internal domestic family things. I'm just really noticing that even in classics, I have a problem with the same thing. So, okay, I'm 45 pages from the end. I'm an hour and 15 minutes from the end of the audiobook. I don't want to pick it up. I really hate to DNF a book at 90%, but I am so close to doing that. So, I'm hoping that sometime this week I can just make myself listen to that last hour and 15 minutes. I'm just not sure. This is, I mean, again, rating wise, this is going to be so low. I just don't know. I don't know how to explain that. It does not work for me, but we'll see. So those are all the things I'm in the middle of. I am also still rereading Dune, but I'm not, I didn't make a lot of progress. That's just, when I have time. So let's talk about the books that I'm going to read in the next week. I don't know what I'm going to pick up today. So today I might pick up The Watchmaker of Filigree Street and see if I can get farther, or read The Rogue Hunter, or I might pick up something new. We'll see. As I said, my reading's all over the place. I am starting Magic Breaks by Alona Andrews. This is book 7. Is it 7? I'm losing my mind here. Yes, 7 in the Kate Daniels series. I'm reading these with Tia and all the books. The series has just been fantastic, and I can't wait for the next book. So we start, I think, tomorrow. So I haven't figured out what pages we read yet. Haven't had time this week, so I'll do that today. But I'm really looking forward to this to continue, because the last book was my favorite book of last month. So I really want to continue. As I said, we're trying to get to, so we can finish by the end of the year, the series, but there's a lot of, other books and other things that are kind of connected. So anyway, we're working on that. So again, this is urban fantasy with magic comes and goes. So when the magic is up, the technology doesn't work, and when the magic is down, then all the technology will work. So the world, they have this kind of complex world where certain things don't work anymore, and then there's magic, and people have come out as, with shifters and people who can control the dead and stuff like that. So it's just a great world, and I really, really enjoy it, and I can't wait to do the next one. For Victober, I have 2 books that I would like to start. I'm not sure today if I'll start this one or the other one. Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. I want to try to read more Dickens. I've only read, I've read like 3 or 4 books of his, but I want to read them all, and I don't want to read some of the really big ones that are in the, like, his big, I don't know. How do I want to put that? I'm trying to read them more in order now and kind of move my way up to the last books. Oliver Twist is one of the early ones that I have not read. I did try Pickwick Papers last year and didn't get along with it, but I think I'm going to try audio maybe next year. But I want to do Oliver Twist. So again, it's just over 500 pages with all the notes. So I'm kind of counting this as my tome topple, which is done by Sam at Thoughts on Tomes. And I think it starts on the 18th through the 31st this year for this round. I don't know if it's 15. I don't remember what round it is. And again, I love tome topple, but this is the only book that I have that's even close to the books I want to read. So I might read that, start this on Monday as well, as Yolanda Andrews. Kate Daniels. So these ones I might both start tomorrow, but we'll see. But as I said, this is all I know about it. It has to do with orphans and I think of an underground of people. Anyway, that's kind of all I know. I don't in London. I don't know. That's all. And again, that's obviously for the city prompts. So, anyway, and then the other Victober book I'd like to pick up is, or at least to try, is Powers of Darkness: The Lost Version of Dracula by Bram Stoker and Valdemar Asmundsson. So this was the Icelandic version of Dracula for many decades before they realized that the translator changed the novel to what he wanted and changed characters around and changed the action and everything. It goes in a completely different way from what I hear. I hear it's, shorter, punchier, and also sexier. I don't know, but I want to at least read a little bit. It's written, it has it where it's of course I opened up to one. It's annotated, so it'll say different things about the story. I think like maybe the differences, I'm not positive. And again, I've read Dracula, I think at least twice. It is one I do want to reread at some point, but I thought I would try this and see how that goes. So I do have like 6 or 8 little small Victober book or Victorian literature books that I could pick up in the mix if none of these work out, but I'm not sure. And then again, I have some library books coming in middle of this week, so one of them is a real chunky one, and so we'll see. And those are more new books, so we'll see if I get those into October, or they're going to be ones I hold until November. We'll see. But that's it. That's all the books that I'm in the middle of. If audiobook wise, I guess there is one. If I actually do finish, or maybe I'll just bypass, Dr. Thorne, I don't know. But I do have Exit Strategy by Martha Wells, which is book 4 in the Murderbot series that I just got from the library. So I had that on audio. So it's like a 4-hour audiobook. So I probably will try to get to that sometime this week. I don't know what other audiobook I'll go to because, again, Dr. Thorne's just staring at me for the hour and 15 minutes. But we'll see what happens. Again, because I can't hear very well, I don't want to listen to an audiobook right now. So I'm hoping this will clear up sometime this week. It'd be nice. Anyway, that's it. That's all I got. I did already I marked this earlier because I wasn't actually going to film, and then I decided at the last minute to film because, again, I haven't been feeling great. So I did do my one read, The Last Guard. I marked 2 for the Charlotte Riddell because even though it's a bind up, it was 2 novels. So I counted it as 2, and then I put my 1 DNF up there. So, I mean, my Victober is going pretty well. I am still working on series, which is good. And I think that's it. So, let me know what you guys are reading. Anything good? How's your Victober going? What do you think I should do about Dr. Thorne and the Watchmaker of Filigree Street? I have no idea. Or maybe I should just start DNFing everything. I don't know. And clear all the boards. I don't know. Let me know, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.